Hello and welcome. Tonight, PDP Edo Governorship Election Committee declares Asue Ighodalo winner of the party's primary. Supporters of Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu hold parallel election and declares him winner. The chairman of the Labour Party group, Julius Abur, and two others released on bail by the police following their arrest yesterday in Benin City on allegations of attempted murder and other offences. And security operatives intervene as hoodlums hijack trailers loaded with food items at the Suleja junction on the Abuja-Kaduna highway in Niger State. IDPs in Borno State government must act fast.
On Business News Night, figures from the National Bureau of Statistics shows that Nigeria's GDP grew by 3.46% in the last quarter of 2023.
On Sports News tonight, following last-minute intervention by the Ministry of Sports Development, the country's senior men's national team, the Tigers, will be competing at the 2025 Afro-Basket qualifiers starting tomorrow in Borno State, Tunisia.
And from Abuja, Senate steps down bill seeking to make provisions for a harmonized retirement age for legislative officers of the National Assembly.
And in international news from London, the Kremlin has accused Joe Biden of attempting to appear like a Hollywood cowboy after the US president described Vladimir Putin using colourful language.
Edo State takes center stage today as the race for the September 21st governorship election heats up, with various parties holding their primaries. Now, for the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, the issue of who is to fly its flag seems to have been resolved, as lawyer and entrepreneur Asue Ighodalo has emerged winner in the party's governorship primary election. He polled 577 votes to defeat 7 other contestants in the primary conducted at the tennis court of the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium in Benin City, the Edo State capital.
Ighodalo. I, Dauda Lawal, by the power vested in me, on me, by the National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, pursuant to the Constitution of the party, as the Chief Returning Officer of the Edo State 2024 gubernatorial primaries, therefore declared Asue Ighodalo as the winner of just concluded primaries today with a total vote of 570. I hereby return elected as the candidate for the upcoming governorship election in Edo State. Congratulations, my brother.
We'll definitely have more on that primary concerning the Edo State, the PDP governorship primary election there in Edo State.
Yes, but we wanted to go. No, Chairman, go ahead. No, you on the photograph meeting. Don't tell me that. No, was I there? The election was closed. No, was I there? No, you cannot. No. Was I there?
Supporters of the Deputy Governor of Edo State, Philip Shaibu, who claimed to be delegates, reportedly being prevented from taking part in the accreditation of delegates for the PDP primary election at the main venue. They were said to have subsequently taken their protest to the Deputy Governor's residence, where they declared him winner in a parallel election.
election.
Meanwhile, the outcome of the All Progressives Congress primary is still being expected as it completed its primary as it completes its primary after the outcome of the previous poll last Saturday, where 3 contestants came out as winners. Now, there's a heavy presence of security operatives on the street leading to the hotel where the collation center is situated, as well as within the hotel premises itself. Governor Bassey Otu of Cross River State, who is the chairman of the revised APC Edo Governorship Election Committee, says there is nothing like zoning in the poll, in line with the party's leadership stance, maintaining that he is the one to announce the result. He stated this to members of the party at the conclusion of a stakeholders meeting. Some members of the party had insisted that a stakeholders meeting be held before continuation of the primary election, which the NWC declared inconclusive. Meanwhile, the APC leadership has denied sacking Governor Hope Uzodimma of Imo State as the chairman of the Edo State Governorship Primary Election Committee. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the National Publicity Secretary of the party, Mr. Felix Marker, explained that Governor Uzodimma only stepped aside from concluding the primary election due to a scheduled engagement at the National Executive Council.
Today, but once we have the attention of the All Progressives Congress has been drawn to reports in sections of the media suggesting that Governor of Imo State and Chairman of the Progressives Governors Forum, His Excellency Hope Uzodimma, was sacked or dropped as the Chairman of the Edo State Gubernatorial Primary Election Committee and replaced with His Excellency, the Governor of Cross River State, Bassey Otu. We wish to clarify that Governor Uzodimma was neither sacked nor dropped, as has been erroneously reported, but was unavoidably unavailable to lead the completion of the party's Edo State gubernatorial primary election process due to his prior scheduled attendance of and presentation of a report to the National Economic Council meeting today, February 22nd, 2024. As a result, His Excellency Bassey Otu, Governor of Cross River State, who was the deputy chairman of the committee, graciously accepted to serve as the chairman and to complete the Edo State gubernatorial primary election process.
Staying in Edo State, Zenith Labour Party ZLP has presented Bishop Akalamia as its candidate ahead of the September 21st governorship election. The primaries held at the Oselu axis on the Benin-Lagos Expressway under a peaceful atmosphere. Now, the flag bearer explained that his party made a good choice by fielding him as its candidate.
Today, I don't just have the support of the people, I have the support of the party. And they have given me the mandate, given me the opportunity to fly the flag of the party to contest the Edo 2024 governorship election. I am so happy. Now, from April, the work will start. I will begin to see how we can work to ensure that we rescue Edo State from the gobweb of stagnation, from the economic comatose we have find ourselves today. I am so happy. Edo will begin to experience good governance when I take over the matter of leadership for governing Obaseki.
In the meantime, the national chairman of the Labour Party, Julius Abur, and 2 others arrested with him on Wednesday have been freed by the Nigeria Police Zone 5 headquarters in Benin City. Their arrest on the basis of a written petition against them alleging attempted murder, conspiracy, grievous harm and related offences came less than 48 hours to the party's governorship primary election scheduled for tomorrow. Speaking after his release, Mr. Abur says his ordeal is aimed at undermining his party's struggle for a better country.
They have graciously released me on bail, except for the state chairman and the state youth leader. They have also promised that by the early hours of this morning, they will release me. So we are hoping that they will fulfill their promise and actually release them. Whatever is happening to me will not discourage me from this. Sure. We must continue to pursue the cause of the people. Today, APC is in power. Life has become more unbearable for the people. Yes. Today, to finish the dollar is exchanging 1,900 for almost 2,000 Nigerians. Fuel today is sold for 700 naira per liter. 720. There is even scarcity now, and it's likely that it's going to be increased. Yeah. Inflation, even though it was double digits, it is now above 31%. Unemployment has increased. A bag of rice today is sold for 120,000 naira, and minimum wage is 30,000. You can see the paradox. You can see the irony. So Nigerians are in very serious and difficult times.
This is the scene on the Kaduna-Abuja highway this morning as protesters blocked the highway leading into the Federal Capital Territory. According to eyewitnesses, the protesters are lamenting the rising food prices in the country. It was gathered that the protest turned violent as suspected hoodlums hijacked trailers loaded with food items at the Suleja junction on the Abuja-Kaduna highway in Niger State. According to the report, the truck was conveying food items meant for traders in the popular Madala market within the area. The market traders were the place where market trades every Thursday. Now, however, soldiers from the Guards Brigade dispersed the suspected hoodlums, while other security operatives restored normalcy to the area, allowing free flow of vehicles. Meanwhile, in Borno State, some internally displaced persons living in Dikwa local government area say if no action is taken about food, they are ready to return to Douala in Cameroon from where they were moved to Borno State. According to them, they get enough food in Douala and are now asking governments to take action, saying that many people living there are in critical condition. Meanwhile, the president says his administration remains steadfast in implementing necessary economic reforms to facilitate business growth and create investment opportunities that support Nigeria's growing population. Receiving a delegation from the Corporate Council on Africa, led by Florizel Liza, CCA's president and chief executive officer in Abuja, President Bola Tinubu reiterated his unwavering commitment to Nigeria's economic growth and stability, emphasizing that he is not relenting until his vision for Nigeria is achieved. After the meeting, the head of the delegation and the Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris, spoke on the benefits of the partnership.
And people need to understand that. You didn't get to where you are overnight, and it may take a little time, but I think that the signals are being sent through the reforms that are being made, the 8-point program that the president has put in place. And again, CCA as an organization and our members are prepared to really work hand in hand in partnership with the government of Nigeria and His Excellency in making this really a partnership and taking it to the next level.
Well, we're expecting a very robust relationship. They've come to Nigeria to appreciate the kind of reforms that President Bola Tinubu is leading. Only today we've got this very beautiful news from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics telling us that fuel consumption in this country is down by about 1 billion liters. We also know that capital imports has gone up 66%. We've also heard that so many of the reforms that have been taken are already beginning to yield results. Of course, this partnership is also part of the effort at consolidating the kind of gains that we will get from the reforms that President Bola Tinubu is undertaking. We look forward to more of such collaboration by corporate giants in America, and they're all coming to Nigeria to invest, not to take out.
In part two, after the break, President Bola Tinubu meets with the ECOWAS Judicial Council, plus the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, cautions coup advocates due to economic hardship and emphasizes the superiority of democracy. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. PDP Edo Governorship Election Committee declares Asue Ighodalo winner of the party's primary. Supporters of Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu hold parallel election and declares him winner. The chairman of the Labour Party group, Julius Abur, and two others released on bail by the police following their arrest yesterday in Benin City on allegations of attempted murder and other offences. Security operatives intervene as hoodlums hijack trailers loaded with food items at the Suleja junction on the Abuja-Kaduna highway in Niger State. IDPs in Borno State government must act fast. And the Kremlin accuses Joe Biden of attempting to appear like a Hollywood cowboy after the U.S. president called Vladimir Putin a crazy sob. Stay with the presidency, and in order to ensure ECOWAS court rulings are enforceable, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukayode Ariwola, says the ECOWAS Judicial Council has set up a committee to recommend effective measures to make that possible. Justice Ariwola, who is also the chairman of the ECOWAS Judicial Council, made this known while speaking with State House correspondents after leading the council, made up of the Chief Justices of member countries, on a courtesy call on President Bola Tinubu. The CJN was reacting to the position of the Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice, Mr. Lateef Fagbemi, that the ECOWAS court should stop giving orders and judgments that are unenforceable.
Attorney General of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Prince Lateef Fagbemi, SAN, gave that as part of his speech at the opening session on Tuesday. And that is part of my remarks to Mr. President also this morning, that the issue on the enforcement of the judgments of the community court is going to be looked into. We've set up two committees, one to look into the rules and the other to look into the position or the status of the enforcement of judgments of the community court. And as I told Mr. President, by the time the council concludes its meeting, the recommendations will show that we have worked so hard to support the commission.
In the meantime, the president has directed permanent secretaries across federal ministries to ensure all projects and programs domiciled in the ministries become a reality for Nigerians. This, according to the head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Folashade Yemieson, who was speaking after she led a delegation of permanent secretaries to visit President Bola Tinubu at the State House in Abuja.
The permanent secretaries had been wanting an opportunity to have some time with Mr. President, and this gave a very, very good opportunity. And Mr. President also used the opportunity to charge the permanent secretaries to redouble their efforts to ensure that the renewed hope agenda becomes a reality. So it was a very, very good meeting. So Mr. President has given us a double march order to ensure that all the projects, all the programs that are domiciled in the ministries become a reality to Nigerian citizens. And the permanent secretaries also have given him the reassurance that that's why they're there, that they are his foot soldiers in the ministries and that they would work there tirelessly.
The National Economic Council is urging concerted efforts to ensure that local commodities are not dollarized in the face of rising costs of food and other commodities. The council, during its meeting held virtually and chaired by Vice President Kashim Shettima, also directed the review of the National Food Security Strategy to focus on price stabilization, among other things. Our State House correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
Thank you very much.
The 139th National Economic Council meeting holds virtually and is chaired by the Vice President behind closed doors. After several hours, State House correspondents are briefed on major outcomes of the meeting.
The main feedstock to making urea is gas, which is a local commodity here in Nigeria, but is being priced in dollar in the international market benchmark. So we attended to the National Economic Council on the need to revisit that issue and the issue of dollarization of a local commodity here in Nigeria. On rice, we intend to cultivate 250,000 hectares, thereby supporting 500,000 farmers, and maize, 55,000 hectares, supporting 110,000 farmers, cassava, 35,000 hectares, supporting 70,000 farmers.
The National Economic Council also deliberated on some national issues, including the matter of state police.
Council resolution resolved that all state governors should submit a memorandum to the NEC for consideration and endorsement by the National Assembly, and same copy forwarded to the National Security Advisor.
In view of the food security situation in the country, the Council discussed the preparedness of the country on flood this year.
Council also received update on the federal account.
Excess crude account, $473,754.57. And the natural resources account, 114,343,535,696 naira 46 kobo.
Other measures to be taken to address the current food crisis in the country, as deliberated by the National Economic Council, include the need to introduce the off-taking of rice and cassava from 500,000 farmers supported by the federal government, a move that is expected to bring in at least 1,075,000 kilograms bags of rice. From the presidential villa, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
Now to security matters. The Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa has warned those he said are advocating a coup due to economic hardship, emphasizing patience and the superiority of democracy. General Musa made this remark while addressing journalists at the Nigerian Army's 6th Division headquarters in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, after commissioning some building projects. He urged individuals promoting military takeover to cease or face prosecution.
We do better during democracy, and so we will continue to support democracy. And any of those ones that are calling for anything other than democracy, I think are evil people and they don't mean us well. And then they should be very, very careful, because the laws will come after them. We can see with democracy a lot of things happening in Nigeria. Yes, we're going through trying periods. I mean, in life, nothing is 100%. Everybody goes through trying period, and it is what you do with them. And we can see the government putting in efforts to ensure that we come out better. And it is when you go through difficulties and you come out better, you really appreciate what it is to build a nation. And so that's what we're going through. So we're going through our trying period, but I can assure Nigerians that it will get better. All we need is all of us putting our hands together to ensure that we defeat those enemies of the government.
In other security matters, the military says 286 terrorists have been killed and 244 others arrested within the last 2 weeks. This is according to the Director, Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, who addressed journalists in Abuja on the ongoing military operations. He says troops also arrested 83 oil thieves and rescued 122 kidnapped victims in parts of the country. Meanwhile, the Kaduna State government has confirmed the killing of a notorious bandit kingpin, Boderi Ishaku, by troops of the 1 Mechanized Division of the Nigerian Army. A statement by the State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Arawan, explains that the bandit leader, alongside some of his fighters, were killed in a gun battle with troops around Bada and Riwaya general areas of Chikun and Igabi local government areas of the state. According to Mr. Arwan, the troops had on Wednesday night come in contact with Boderi, as he was commonly known, and his fighters around Bada general area in Chikun local government, where they laid ambush and then surrounded the Bandit Kingpin and his men. During the ensuing confrontation, Boderi engaged the troops in a fierce firefight, but was ultimately subdued by the troops. For nearly a decade, he was said to have carried out deaths and destruction in Kaduna and neighboring Niger states with the trademark of brutal attacks, mass abductions, and killings. As Nigeria grapples with insecurity, kidnapping, and other crimes, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State has declared his support for state police, which a bill is currently being considered for passage in the National Assembly. He says Lagos has enough manpower to kickstart its own policing. Governor Sanwo-Olu stated this, among other issues, during a media chat at the Lagos House in Marina.
Maybe he's speaking to systemic failure, and I mean, these buildings are already up. It's either somebody in the system is complicit of not doing their job, or there's clear inefficiency.
There could be, failure of government, and I'm taking responsibility in terms of being efficiently, proactive, to be able to deal with some of those nuisances.
This is the first media chat Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu is holding with select broadcast stations at the Lagos House Marina.
Can we even be creative and have a flexible working hour?
The Lagos State Governor begins by addressing the economic challenges, especially high cost of living as it affects many residents of the state. He reels out his plans to tackle the situation.
Transport cost is also a major pain that our citizens are. So almost immediately from this weekend, we're throwing back a 25% reduction on all public transportation. But we're working with the various unions to ensure that we also can support them. But on our BRT, on our trains, on our ferry services, you are going to begin to enjoy that almost immediately from this weekend.
Continuous provision of quality healthcare services is also top priority for the government.
Where all our 31 general hospitals will be given free child delivery. Either during normal birth or cesarean birth, we will take up the cost so that we reduce the pressure on our people almost immediately. We are also working with them to reduce the cost of some particular types of drugs, hypertension, diabetes, and we can give a rebate at our hospitals.
This media chat certainly gives Governor Sanwo-Olu an opportunity to talk about many issues in one sitting. And after food and health, the governor says there's no stalling in the provision of adequate security.
We're doing a food purchase and redistribution that will cover about 300,000 households, not just individual household, that will have 10 kg rice, 5 kg gari, 5 kg beans, and have other small things like tomato and rest of it in a combo bag. We're going to be opening, what we call Sunday markets in about 42 markets in Lagos. Sunday market. What you would see in those markets, is the same sort of like, stable, food item. But this time, you'll be buying at a reduced cost. We're going to cap what you can buy at not more than 25,000. And we'll be giving you a 25% rebate immediately there. So we have started that at our middle market in Ijoro, which you have all seen, but we're taking it to 42 identified markets in Lagos. If they give approval for state police today, I have 10,000 men that I can further train and get them ready, and these are people that know the entire community.
He also announces 3 working days for civil servants from level 0 to 14, while levels 15 to 17 are to resume at their duty posts 4 days in a week. And teachers will continue to work 5 days to educate future leaders in Lagos State.
Still ahead on the news at 10, National Bureau of Statistics says Nigeria's gross domestic product grew by 3.46% in the last quarter of 2023. That's on Business News. Please join us again. Welcome back. Let's now head to the nation's capital, where Victoria Longjohn is on standby to give us the very latest from our Abuja studio. Hello, Victoria.
Hello, Ayel. We continue here with the National Assembly as the Senate has stepped down a bill for an act to make provisions for a harmonized retirement age for legislative officers of the National Assembly, exempting them from the application of the General Service Rule on retirement age. The bill of concurrence, sponsored by Leader of the Senate, Senator Opeyemi Bamidele, according to him, provides for the retirement age of legislative officers to retire at the age of 65 years or 40 years of service. Our National Assembly correspondent Gloria Umezoke reports.
The last plenary for the week begins with the consideration of the report on the Southeast Development Commission Establishment Bill, which had passed second reading on Wednesday.
Those in support.
Dissolving into the committee of the whole, the details of the bill again comes under focus before its final passage.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to establish the Southeast Development Commission. The bill read the third time and passed.
In another bill for an act to make provisions for the retirement age of staff of National Assembly service, the upper chamber is divided. This comes after the Leader of the Senate, who doubles as the sponsor, leads the debate.
To make provisions for a harmonized retirement age for legislative officers of the National Assembly, exempting them from the application of the General Service Rule on retirement age.
We are losing men, and I am urging our colleague to support this amendment because legislation work is proportional.
Many lawmakers appeared to have aligned with his argument until one dissenting voice.
If there's anybody that is opposed to it, raise your hand.
What will the Nigerian public say of us? That because we have people who work inside here as our staff, then we want to make them very different from the rest of the staff in the public service of Nigeria. I think that if we say that, oh, people have knowledge, they have to stay, why won't we go ahead and pass a harmonized bill for everybody in this country and let everyone move up? Why should it be special here?
I've listened to our colleagues from both sides. I'm not opposing or supporting, but I'm cautioning us that we need to do more consultation on this matter before we take a decision.
As more hands go up in opposition to the bill, the Senate takes a decision to step it down.
This is a contentious matter. Let us step it down and do more consultation. I so move.
I put a question. Those in support of the motion that we're of the view that we step it down for further consultation, say aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it.
In the meantime, following the consideration of the report on the Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions, the Senate has confirmed the appointment of 12 persons as members of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezoke, Channels Television News.
And still with the National Assembly, the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Aminu Masari, is urging the political class to provide leadership and inspire hope in the younger generation of Nigerians. He said this during a valedictory session in honor of former Speaker, Honorable Gali Naaba, who died in Abuja on December 27, 2023. Meanwhile, the House is proposing that the new National Assembly Service Commission building be named after the late Naaba. Our correspondent Terry Ikumi reports.
Past speakers, deputy speakers, and past leadership of the House of Representatives are admitted into the Green Chamber for the valedictory session of the late Speaker of the House, Honorable Gali Umar Naba. Mr. Naba was Speaker of the House when the country returned to democratic rule in 1999 till 2003. With the family of the late Speaker present, the valedictory session is kicked off by the Speaker of the House, closely followed by his predecessor.
We're all commending one person. That goes to say we still remain one family. I want to urge us to please improve on this bondage. We have passed a resolution to name the National Assembly Service Commission new building here after Honorable Gali Naaba. We have already transmitted the resolution to the Senate, looking for their own concurrence.
Because his reputation preceded him, and because I followed him and followed his career, I made it a point of duty, notedly, when I became Speaker, to consult with him on a regular. And he gave me words of advice that you couldn't buy in the marketplace. I treasure those words, I treasure those advices, and I believe those advices when I was Speaker was what saw me through my period as Speaker. And I thank him eternally for this.
More eulogies follow from those who served with him and knew him personally.
Naba showed his detribalized nature, and I was a pan-Nigerian. He was from Kano, from the north, but he supported the South-South, the oppressed people of the South-South. He ensured that the bill was passed, and when the president at that time refused to sign, he mobilized the House to override the veto by 2/3 majority. That was the character of Gary Naba.
12 female, he gave us equal chance, equal opportunity to assert our own contributions to national building. He was a dogged fighter, very, very simple, calm, even in the place of storm. He was very calm.
It was to me that Nigeria must be better. Mr. Speaker, I had, at one time of my life, been extremely very close to him, not by going to him, but he reached out first at all times. He spoke to me first before I ever pick a phone to call him.
Former Speaker of the House, Aminu Masari, seizes the moment to speak on the political and economic state of the nation.
Let me also remind all of us, just like I said, we will continue all the necessary prayers for our country. But we can also not stop in only praying. We have to take actions. We have to take responsibility, and we should remember that a lot of Nigerians die daily because of hunger and starvation.
May God forgive his shortcomings and grant the departed soul Jannatul Firdaus.
Prayers are then held in his honor as the valedictory session comes to an end and the House is adjourned. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
To education matters now. The Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Maman, says the directive of the federal government exempting tertiary institutions from the Integrated Payroll Personnel and Information System IPIS stands. He explains that the delay in implementation is owing to the work the federal government is currently doing on creating new guidelines for university autonomy, which should be ready any moment now after presentation to the Federal Executive Council. On the fraud reported on the integrity of IPs, he said the federal government has constituted a standing committee to review the platform. He spoke on our program, Hard Copy.
You can now understand why it is important to have those guidelines. That's what those guidelines seek to address. So it's not just automatic, okay, you go back and then you leave all the issue that led to them being under IPs.
In the first instance,
yeah,
we'll take it for granted. So I'm saying now that you're going back, how much longer do you think that for those lecturers who have not been paid or whose salaries have been paid in halves and quarters, how much longer do you think that they will need to wait before these issues are resolved for them?
No, for now, I'm not aware that there are people whose salaries have not been paid. They are being paid, in the present system. Most of the issues are beyond what we are actually talking about. But in any case, as I said, in any system, there's usually a short period of transition. It could be 1 month, it could be 2 weeks. I don't know exactly what the issues are there, why those issues, exist with IPPS, and that is why That is why, if you remember too, the president with FEC, decided to subject IPPS, the entirety of IPPS, to further scrutiny. We have a standing committee of FEC which is looking at the integrity of that platform. So we are waiting for a report on that.
For the full interview, watch hard copy on Friday at 8:30 p.m. on Channels Television. And that's it from Abuja. It's now back to you, Ayo, for the rest of the news at 10.
Time now with some business news with Joker Rogers.
Thank you, Ayotunde. Welcome to Business News. Latest data from the National Bureau of Statistics shows Nigeria's gross domestic product grew by 3.46% in the fourth quarter of 2023. According to the NBS, the growth rate is lower than the 3.52% recorded in the same quarter in 2022, but higher than the 2.54% recorded in the third quarter of last year. A breakdown of the data shows the non-oil sector contributed 95.3% to the overall GDP, while the oil sector eked out a 4.7% contribution. The Bureau says the growth rate was mainly driven by the services sector, which recorded a 3.98% growth. Let's take a look at the domestic market now, which made a flip back into negative territory as investors assess the fourth quarter GDP report. Here's Willie Bong with more.
Welcome to the stock market report. The market is definitely playing ping pong because today we're back in the red. The all share index dipped today at the close of trade by 0.12%, and reversing positive sentiment seen at intraday. The index is still hanging, although to the 101,000 level. But the question is, but for how long? Now let's check out the market movers. Let's see, and we begin with the sectors. We see consumer goods still painting the market red, and it's PZ Cussons leading that party train, and oil and gas remain unchanged today after gaining yesterday, while banking is in the red, 0.44%, and this is despite gains in the figures. We see FBN Holdings, GTCO, and Zenith in the green today, but that was not enough to cushion that loss in the banking sector. Let's see if there'll be any turnaround tomorrow, because I don't know. We'll just hope and see if investors will turn it around for good. Now, that's how we wrap up the report today. It's party time for the bear country.
That's business news tonight. Back to you, Ayotunde.
Many thanks, Joke. A high-rise residential building in the Spanish city of Valencia has been engulfed by fire, leaving several people injured and many feared trapped. Here's Simon Pusey with other international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The Kremlin has accused Joe Biden of attempting to appear like a Hollywood cowboy after the US president called Vladimir Putin a crazy SOB. Mr. Biden made the comments at a public fundraising event in California, warning about the threat of nuclear conflict. In response, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov called it a poor attempt to appear like a Hollywood cowboy. He added that such vocabulary debases America itself. A court in Spain has found the former Barcelona and Brazil footballer Dani Alves guilty of raping a woman in a Barcelona nightclub. He has been sentenced to 4.5 years in prison. The 40-year-old, who is one of the most decorated footballers in history, had denied sexually assaulting the woman in the early hours of the 31st of December 2022. His lawyer had asked for his acquittal, and Alves can appeal against the sentence. As well as handing Alves a 4.5-year sentence, the court ordered him to pay €150,000 to the victim and said he should face 5 years probation afterwards. The Foreign Office says the UK is backing the outgoing Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte to succeed Jens Stoltenberg as the next Secretary General of the NATO military alliance.
And NATO has also called for European allies to invest more in high-end capabilities.
Stoltenberg assumed the role in October 2014 and is due to step down on the 1st of October 2024.
To making some very good trade deals, fair trade.
Rutte is due to be replaced as Dutch MP when a new government is formed following the country's election last November. Dozens of lawmakers stormed out of Britain's Parliament with tempers flaring as the three biggest political parties sought to outmaneuver each other over a vote on a ceasefire in Gaza. The uproar followed a decision by the Speaker to ignore precedent and allow a vote which helped the opposition Labour Party avoid a large-scale rebellion among its own lawmakers over its position on the Israel-Hamas war. Lawmakers from the governing Conservatives and the opposition Scottish National Party left the debating chamber in protest. The Speaker, Lindsay Hoyle, eventually apologised.
The government does not have confidence that it will be able to vote on its own motion. For that reason, the government will play no further part in the decision this House takes on today's proceedings.
It was not my intention, as it was, in particular, the SNP were ultimately unable to vote on the proposition. I am, and I regret, with my sadness, that it's ended up on like that, in this position. That was never my intention for it to end up like this. I was absolutely convinced that the decision was done with the right intention.
In a historic move, South Africa's parliament have impeached one of the country's top judges for misconduct. An investigation found that John Holofe, the leading judge in Western Cape Province, tried to influence justices at the country's top court in a case relating to the former President Jacob Zuma. He approached two justices in 2008 to see if they would support Mr. Zuma in a decision relating to a corruption case. Mr. Holofe always denied the accusation. President Joe Biden's dog, Commander, bit U.S. Secret Service agents on at least 24 occasions, according to new documents. U.S. Secret Service records show the extent to which the German Shepherd caused chaos for the presidential bodyguards. One senior agent noted the bites meant the Secret Service changed tactics, advising agents to give lots of room. The warning came months before Commander was removed from the White House. The documents were revealed through Freedom of Information requests and posted online. And a cargo ship has rammed into a bridge in the Chinese city of Guangzhou early on Thursday, plunging 5 vehicles, including a public bus, into the river. The accident killed 2 people and injured 1 other. 3 are still missing. Images on the local broadcaster CCTV show a section of the bridge fractured with the ship trapped under it. The vessel did not appear to be carrying cargo. The incident happened at 5:30 in the morning local time. The ship's captain has been detained and people residing in the vicinity have been evacuated. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. In what appears to be a last-minute intervention by the Ministry of Sports Development, the country's senior men's national team, the Tigers, will be competing at the 2025 Afro Basket qualifiers starting tomorrow in Monastir, Tunisia. The team had given up hopes of participating at the qualifiers with their opening game scheduled for Friday against Libya. The Minister, John Eno, had given his consent for the MBBF leadership to do all that they can to see that the Tigers participate, with an assurance that the necessary funds will be approved and funds released within the next 3 weeks. And Super Falcons and reigning African Women's Goalkeeper of the Year, Chiamaka Nnadozie, says the 9-time African champions is well prepared for Friday's Olympic qualifiers against the Lionesses of Cameroon in Douala. The Super Falcons are on a revenge mission against the indomitable Lionesses, who stopped their march to the London 2012 Olympics. And the president of World Athletics, Sebastian Coe, has paid tribute to World Marathon record holder Bandit Kingpin in his recent visit to Western Kenya. The 24-year-old was killed on February the 11th in a road accident near the Rift Valley town of Eldoret, leaving Kenya and the world of athletics reeling. That's it on sports. It's back to you, Ayo.
Many thanks, Chris. So definitely would like to apologize for a wrong caption there in the story concerning the former Speaker, Umar Garlinaba, on Aminu Masari, claiming that he is the former Speaker of the House of Representatives. And the main news again. Now, the PDP Edo Governorship Election Committee today declared Asue Ighodalo winner of the party's primary. It just came as supporters of the Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu held Karo election and declared him as winner. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Many thanks for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. Have a good night and please stay safe.